Seasoner
and Co.
Welcome to
Second-Hand Haunting,
where we read ghost stories from a second-hand book and try and make sense of them.
Fun of them.
Sense of them?
Fun of them.
Sense?
Fun.
Sense.
Fun.
Hey, Ollie.
Hey, Callum.
Are you ready for some more castles from True Irish Ghost Stories by John Seymour and Harry Neligan?
Am I ready to imagine myself in a castle with a ghost again? I am absolutely ready for that.
Excellent. Shall we delve right on in?
Let's do.
K Castle. Okay, well, let's hit the brakes immediately. They have tried to anonymise this castle by just calling it K Castle.
Feels lazy.
Maybe these writers were, but I wasn't. I got onto Wikipedia.
You're good at this.
And I looked up every single castle in Ireland that begins with K.
I mean, you're assuming that it was K Castle.
I am. I'm assuming that the K is correct and true. And through some of the descriptions of the castle and the grounds that are given throughout the story, I have narrowed it down to meaning Kilkea Castle. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what we're talking about here. So, rather than K Castle, I'm going to keep calling it Kilkea Castle, because it's fun to say.
I was waiting for it.
So, Kilkea Castle is a handsome blending of ancient castle and modern dwelling house. Picturesquely situated among trees, while the steep glen mentioned below runs close beside it.
What's a glen?
A glen. Would you know, I didn't look this up, but I'm pretty sure it's a field?
Did not mean to put you on the spot. I am so sorry. Should I Google it? Should I Google a glen?
You might be able to get there quicker than I can, yes.
I bet you I could. A glen is a valley, typically one that is long and bounded by gently sloped, concave sides, unlike a ravine, which is deep and bound by steep slopes.
Okay, thank you very much. So, the steep glen mentioned below runs close beside it, so there's a valley next to the castle. I think that was one of the things that helped me identify the castle when I looked it up, and I didn't write it down. It has the reputation of being haunted, but, as usual, it is difficult to get information. One gentleman, to whom we wrote, stated that he never saw or heard anything worse than a bat. On the other hand, a lady who resided there a good many years ago gives the following account of her extraordinary experiences therein. I think we need to decide now, am I doing a voice or not?
How about we just try to do a voice just for
Okay.
this one, and then we'll see how we go. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to do it again.
Dear Mr. Seymour.
No, let's not do it.
Dear Mr. Seymour, I enclose some account of our experiences in Kilkea Castle. It would be better not to mention names, as the people occupying it have told me they are afraid of their servants hearing anything and consequently giving notice. So it's an active castle that's currently being run by people, and there's servants in there, and they're worried that if the servants find out the house is haunted, they're going to leave.
I was thinking about the concept of servants leaving the castle if it was haunted. You know, obviously, if it was me, I'd be like, "Yes, let's do this.
Let's stay.
Let's spend some time being a servant in a haunted castle." And then the other thought that I immediately followed that one was like, could you even leave as a servant? Because servitude doesn't feel like something that it's easy to walk away from.
Do you think you could bargain for hazard pay?
Absolutely, you could.
Nowadays, maybe.
You might get 2 tuppence a year.
I don't know how much a tuppence is compared to these days, and I'm not going to look it up.
If it was hazard pay, then it would be like not much plus not much equals still not much. But if I was them, I'd be asking for an extra portion at dinner. Hazard dinner.
Yeah. They themselves hear voices often, but like me, they do not mind. When first we went there, we heard people talking, but on looking everywhere, we could find no one. Night, I was sitting, talking with my governess. I got up, said good night, and opened the door, which was on top of the back staircase. As I did so, I heard someone, a woman, come slowly upstairs, walk past us to a window at the end of the landing, and then with a shriek, fall heavily. I don't know if she fell inside or out of the window.
Outside the window?
Yeah, out towards the battle, perhaps. As she passed, it was bitterly cold, and I drew back into the room, but did not say anything, as it might frighten the governess. She asked me what was the matter, as I looked so white. Without answering, I pushed her into the room, and then searched the house, but with no results. Are servants allowed to manhandle their employees?
I mean, I'm sure back in the day, I think you'd be surprised.
What they were doing to their own employers.
Or friends, family.
That's different.
People they walk past on the street.
But you'd feel okay just shoving them into a room?
Would I? No.
Okay. Coming from modern day sensibilities.
Absolutely not. But I think in the 1920s, look, I think there was good people and there was bad people. And I think that the bad people go more unchecked than they would today. And I'm very thankful for modern medicines and laws.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Now, the reason I wanted to go into that a bit is because we're immediately moving on in this story to something else. Another night, I was sleeping with my little girl. So I guess her daughter is living in the house? Which, yeah, that sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah, sometimes I cuddle my cat when I go to sleep. So.
Oh, that's cute. I awoke and saw a girl with long fair hair standing at the fireplace, one hand at her side, the other on the chimney piece. Thinking at first it was my little girl, I felt on the pillow to see if she were gone, but she was fast asleep. There was no fire or light of any kind in the room. So I don't know how she can see this ghost, and I don't think she's going to explain it. Sometime afterwards, a friend was sleeping there, and she told me that she was pushed out of the bed the whole night. Two gentlemen, to whom I had mentioned this, came over, thinking they would find out the cause. In the morning, when they came down, they asked for the carriage to take them to the next train, but would not tell what they had heard or seen. Another person who came to the house to visit her sister, who was looking after the house before we went in, slept in this room. And in the morning, she said she must go back that day. She also would give no information.
None whatsoever.
No. It's a whole bunch of people going into this room to figure out what's going on, and everyone's going like, no, I've got to go, bye.
That's how I deal with life.
Sure.
As little information as possible.
Someone asked me to come figure out what their problem is, I'm just going to ignore it and leave.
I'm not being honest. I'm actually incredibly dramatic and will give you way more information than you asked for. Callum's laughing because he knows this is true.
Listener, you have no idea how much I have to edit out of this. I'm sorry.
Sorry?
You seem like I've hurt you.
Oh, not
I
at
didn't
all.
mean to go that far.
I didn't even feel hurt. Didn't actually think about it for a second.
Lovely. Well, let's move on then, shall we? On walking down the corridor, I have heard a door open, a footstep cross before me, and go into another room. Both doors being closed at the time.
Whoa.
Couldn't just be creaky old houses, could it?
It is surprising how much houses make noise by themselves, especially if they're old.
Yeah.
And imagine how noisy a really big house would be that,
Also, that's made of multiple materials. Stone walls and then wooden floors and those things expanding and contracting at different times at different rates.
I'm not going to lie, after when I was younger, the idea of a house seemed like a very static thing to me. And
it's just a bunch of systems all coupled together at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I think it's something that I've learned, especially from older houses, like how much they creak, there's movement. Sometimes there's rats in the roof, but that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah. If someone's walking down one end of the house, or it just so happens to put slight pressure on a beam somewhere that creaks at the other end of the house.
It's a big house, Callum.
Well, it's a castle.
It's a castle.
It's as big as a house can get.
It's true. I don't know about how the stone foundations may work, but I imagine that castles would just be generally noisy. Like there would be wind blowing, there would be creaking foundations, there would be, the soul of the castle itself speaking to you through the walls. I mean, that's
hang on.
It's a whole. Sorry, it's a whole other thing.
I was just nodding along to that. An old cook I had told me that when she went into the hall in the morning, a gentleman would come down the front stairs, take a plumed hat off the stand, and vanish through the hall door.
Also, that a pinch of sea salt always makes a meal better. Well, no, because it's like an old cook. I don't know. It was
bold assuming they had salt in Ireland in 1910s.
Surely they do.
Yeah.
Surely there's salt.
Salt, yes. Pepper, no.
Really?
No, I'm talking
about
my
I was going to say, do we live in like the golden era of salt and pepper?
Right now? Yes, probably. Yeah.
When I was younger, all I had was that regular like table salt. Mm-hmm. Now I'm much more sophisticated. Now it's always Himalayan rock salt.
Oh, uh-huh.
It's the only thing I use now.
No more iodized table salt for you.
I have raised above that echelon of the cheap table salt. I'm in a whole new other category of salt consumer.
Do you know why they put iodine in salt?
Absolutely no idea.
No, it's to help combat gout.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you don't have enough iodine in your diet, you get gout.
Huh.
You know what? I could be wrong. I might be thinking of goiters. I'll double check before I release it. This she saw nearly every morning, the guy coming down and taking his plumed hat off and walking through a closed door. She also said that a girl often came into her bedroom and put her hand on her, the cook's, face. And when she would push her away, she would hear a girl's voice say, "Oh, don't!" 3 times.
Like Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
No. Ollie. No. Ollie. I can no.
Dale.
Beetlejuice and I wanna go home. I have often heard voices in the drawing room, which decidedly sounded as if an old gentleman and a girl were talking. Noises like furniture being moved were frequently heard at night, and strangers staying with us have often asked why the servants turned out the rooms underneath them at such an unusual hour. The front doorbell sometimes rang, and I have gone down but found no one. Yours very sincerely, FT. The end.
There's some kids out there just having a great old time.
Mm-hmm.
They've never heard of the
Ding Dong Ditch?
Ding Dong Ditch, thank you.
A bunch of kids, and also, they're not irresponsible. They've gone out with their grown old adult man. So there's some grandpa out there who is also having some fun with this. So any final thoughts about our haunted Kilkea castle? It's okay if there's none. There wasn't much substance there, was there?
I wanted more ghost.
Yeah, I kind of want to grab onto that guy who comes down every morning, gets his plumed hat off of the hat rack and walks through the front door. Because I think maybe someone has a gentleman caller.
I mean, that sounds right. Maybe someone was in fact ringing the doorbell, but someone answered it and brought them in very quickly.
Yeah, before the lady of the house got down there. Yeah, I can see that. Quick, come in. Yeah.
In a perfect world for me, a ghost in a castle is a haunted suit of armor rattling down the corridor.
I think you're asking...
Swinging its sword around, maybe.
You're asking too much here, dude.
Or if I just watched too much Scooby-Doo.
That could be it, yeah.
Was the Scooby-Doo movies a fever dream?
Oh, like the early 2000s one?
Yeah.
Yeah. The fun thing about the first one was, I think, written by James Gunn. Mm-hmm. But it got, like, really, really heavily censored. So that film was meant to be, like, his first attempt at a Suicide Squad.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry, yeah. Or Guardians of the Galaxy style team versus the supernatural, but didn't work out.
I have a love of bad cinema.
Yeah.
So, like, there is something about watching, like, those Scooby-Doo movies, especially the first one.
The first one's legitimately entertaining.
It's not something I would recommend to somebody. I wouldn't be like, hey, have you checked out the first Scooby-Doo movie? Get on it. But I draw a lot of pleasure from actually watching it. There is something about these stupid comedy movies that make no sense, which just absolutely delight me. In a movie like that, a ghost would absolutely be in a suit of armor, rattling down the corridor with a sword.
Yes, it would be. And maybe is in our next story. But we can take a little break before we do that if you want.
Sure.
Yeah?
Sure. Welcome back to...
Rot roll.
Welcome back to...
Second-hand haunting.
I was just talking to Callum about how I love old-fashioned sweets. Me personally, I really like the idea of if you're going to have a sweet, go out and get a quality chocolate or sweet. You know, something to really make that treat count.
Yeah, don't just shovel in a whole bunch of crap. Have something good.
Have something good.
Yeah.
Words to live by.
Yeah. If you have too much of it, words to die by and become a ghost. Shall we jump into our second castle of the episode?
Probably better to do that than think about troubling gout.
Yeah.
Which was so often the case with kings in castles.
Yeah, or at least one very specific one.
Something to something?
Oh, yes. Yeah, fair. Yes, you got one of the words correct.
What king were you thinking of? King Henry?
Yeah.
The eighth?
Yeah, there you go, yes.
Something that I've seen you dressed up as before.
Oh, God, we don't need to get into that. No, moving on.
Moving on from Henry the Gout-filled the Eighth.
It's way better when they used to give royalty nicknames rather than numbers, right? Henry the Gout-filled.
Henry the Gout-filled.
Better than Henry the Sunless.
Henry the Wifeless.
Henry the Wife-full.
Henry with the headless wives.
Yes, I think 2 of them were headless. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived, right?
It just reminded me of Harry Potter,
What?
Nearly headless.
Oh, no, not headless, Nick. Get out of here. Get out of here.
All right. Sorry. All right, back to the story. Back to the castles.
An even more unpleasant account of a haunting, footnote, in Occult Review, Volume 4, page 197, was told by Mr. Reginald B. Spann by the Reverend F. Bennett of the Anglican Church, Arizona, USA. I guess there is connection between Ireland and the USA, right?
Do you mean like Irish people migrated to the USA?
Yeah.
That would be the only link that I can think of.
Oh, interesting that he's of the Anglican Church, though, rather than the Catholic Church.
Oh, absolutely. What does that mean again?
Anglican Church is the Church of England.
Right. What do they believe in?
Jesus and God and all that jazz.
Right. And the Catholic Church, what do they believe in?
Jesus and God and all that jazz.
Okay, but they're different, right?
Correct, they are different. The aforementioned King Henry VIII decided he wanted to get divorced, and the Catholic Church wouldn't let him do that. So he was just like, well, screw you guys, I'm going to make my own church where I'm the Pope of.
And then Holy Wars.
Holy Cold War, almost?
Right.
But yeah, that's where the Anglican Church came from.
Anyway, I digress.
Moving on.
Even though I wasn't the one talking, but I feel like we should digress.
Some friends of the latter, that would be the Reverend F. Bennett.
Not the Latter-day Saints.
No, no, we're not. We can't. No, moving on. Rented an old castle in the south of Ireland. A very ancient and picturesque building standing in a beautiful and extensive grounds. Now, listener, I'm terribly sorry, but that's not enough information for me to figure out what castle this is.
Did you at least look it up? Spend some time?
Yes. Ollie, I did. I Googled all of the Irish castles that are in the south of Ireland with beautiful and extensive grounds that just so happened to be beautiful castles too.
I feel like you're lying.
You'd think that, but I tried.
Okay.
I got nowhere. It was a fool's errand.
You know what? The way you said it sounded like you were actually being sarcastic, but no, you actually did try. That makes sense.
How does it feel having that rug pulled from beneath you?
Pretty much like a regular day.
They heard some rumours of the place being haunted, but as they were getting it at a low rent, This did not concern them.
Oh, beautiful. That's how you do it.
Yeah. So it's an American reverend coming over. Is it? No, okay, some friends of the reverend have come over and have rented a castle really, really suspiciously cheap. And they're like, someone said it's haunted. Nah, it's fine, whatever, let's do it anyway. How many horror movies have started that way? At least one Scooby-Doo must have.
Absolutely. Scooby-Doo in the haunted castle. That was
Probably.
rented. Scooby-Doo and the landlord.
The new tenants, the A family, were delighted with their residence, and for some time nothing uncanny was noted. After a little, however, the servants complained of footsteps outside their doors and of someone attempting to enter their rooms. But this was put down to imagination induced by the tales told to them by the village people.
You know, it's interesting, and it reminds me of a story that we listened to once before where there was a robber that was, I think it was the son of the inn. Yes, it was like the haunted inn.
Oh, yes, this is the Caxton Gibbet from memory.
That's right, and he was actually like sneaking in and stealing their belongings. So
Yeah.
my first thought was like, maybe it's just someone sneaking in and trying to steal their belongings, which is why they heard footsteps, not the person that was actually hoping that they were asleep so they could steal their stuff.
Could well be. Like, I'm curious, when you rent a castle, does that come with the servants, or do you got to provide your own? It sounds like they got to provide their own because the servants are unfamiliar with it too, right? The servants are listening to all the village people gossip.
What a rip. I feel like you should get servants included.
If you buy it, you do. That's weird.
Like, I can tell you right now, if I go over to Scotland and I rent a castle, I'm expecting servants.
Oh,
Actually, look,
I've got news for you that you're not getting anything for free from the Scots, dude.
I didn't say free. I meant as a part of a rental agreement.
No, you can rent the castle. You also got to rent the staff.
But like, could you rent the castle without the staff?
Probably. Good luck with it, though. Have you heard the old joke? How do you get a Scotsman to stop from being seasick?
How do you get a Scotsman from stop being seasick?
Hold him over the side of the boat and put a penny between his teeth.
Which you're allowed to say because you're a Scotsman, but I'd never say that because Scotsman's beautiful people, certainly not cheap. My God. How dare you say that about your own people?
I don't know about the Scotsmen being beautiful, but sure, whatever. Also, we've gone this whole time without anyone mentioning the village people. Come on.
Well, what do they do?
Join the Navy.
The Navy people? Sorry, what's happening?
The village... You don't know the village people?
Oh, right. You're just saying, like, there are village people and there's a band called The Village People.
Yeah.
Right, sure.
It's fine. We'll edit it out. Whatever.
All right.
Yeah, whatever.
We can talk about the village people.
Macho ghosts.
I wanna be a macho ghost.
One night, Mrs. A was late in retiring. Her husband had gone to Dublin and was sitting by her bedroom fire. I like the inference there that hey, when the husband's away, the wife's just going to stay up and party all night. Woo! Perfect stillness reigned through the house.
She's absolutely finally I can just rave all night.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone else is up. Probably not. She's just sitting by the bedroom fire. Sure she was.
Maybe with the gardener and a brandy.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I have some doubts, Mrs. A. What are you up to?
Something naughty. This is an R-rated show, people.
Yes, look, we know that. The ghosts have got to come from somewhere.
Someone's loins?
Originally, yes. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a sharp bang of a door in the corridor where the room was, followed by the sound of footsteps, but most peculiar footsteps, moving in a stealthy way down the corridor.
Oh, that's what I want to do when I'm a ghost. Be stealthy.
Yeah. This sounds exactly like someone's been caught in the act, right? Quick, slam the door, sneak down the corridor.
It's nothing I fear more than being caught as a ghost.
It's not I don't think it's a ghost. I think Mrs. A's got a little something on the side. When your husband's away in Dublin, the nights get long, the nights get cold, the
Except
gardener gets warm.
Got there before me.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's good.
She opened the door. Oh, so it wasn't her door slamming. Okay. All right. I still have my doubts. And went outside with a lighted candle to see who or what it was. At the end of the passage, she saw in the dim light an extraordinary-looking figure moving with a clumsy, shambling but stealthy tread toward the staircase. She held the light above her head to get a better view, and the creature turned round for an instant and looked at her, disclosing a human face of revolting hideousness, surmounting what appeared to be the body of a huge ape. And then in an instant it vanished.
I'm going to have to throw this out there. I think this is the first time we've had an ape ghost.
Yes. Well,
also,
or is it just like a mean, like the face is human? Revolting hideousness? Well, no, maybe this is just an ape.
Okay, sorry. So the human head but ape-like body. So it's just a hairy ghost.
Well, it's a human face of revolting hideousness. I don't want to make an enemy of any apes out there.
However,
I guess you could describe an ape's face as a revolting, hideous version of a human face, from a certain perspective.
do you know what? I don't know why, but the idea of an ape ghost just seems more unlikely than a human ghost. And I feel like I'm being prejudiced by saying that.
Is that because you think apes don't have souls?
I mean, are apes common to Scotland?
This is Ireland, but I think the point still stands.
Sorry, my bad. Obviously, I got on Scotland there for a second. We were talking about cheap Scottish people before. I mean, perfectly reasonable Scottish people before. Sorry, let me rephrase that.
Look,
are apes common to islands?
If the apes were wearing a skirt, fine, Scotsman, I'll pay that. But
You're such a self-defeatist Scotchman.
Well,
You might need to look inside for that one.
but you are quite correct. I do not think that apes are generally native to the British Isles.
Although, to be fair, incredibly ape-like men may be around.
Maybe they're tending the garden.
I've definitely met ape-like men from my general culture. That's vague enough for me to commit to.
Given that this story is told through the prism of an American,
Maybe even more so.
Yeah, I don't actually have any trouble believing that an American has described an Irishman in such terms as a human face of revolting hideousness and a body of an ape.
Remembering, people, that we all have roots in that area, so so we're really talking about our own heritage here. Just if anyone wants to, get upset, think about that. As far as we're concerned, we're part of the whole thing.
But this guy was from the Anglican Church.
You're not helping this.
No, but that's...
You have to...
Shrieking with terror, she rushed back to her room. One of her daughters came hurriedly at the outcry, and on learning what had been seen, tried to persuade her mother that it was nothing but a nightmare. Is this the first sensible person of the story?
I mean, it sounds like she's being deceived by something actually happening and then being told it's a nightmare.
Maybe. Or maybe she went to bed at the normal time rather than staying up in her room staring at the fire past midnight.
I mean, that's what I would do.
To stare at a fire? Or try and convince your hysterical mother that it was just a nightmare and she should go back to bed?
Well, look, to be fair, if I was in that age, I would absolutely stay up with a fire. Mm-hmm. There would be brandy or something of a brandy-like nature involved.
I think cocaine did exist at this point.
Well, then, yay. Also, I would have company if there was the potential of company. If not, probably a good book because, not as much TV back then.
True. And if she rents a castle, then she can probably afford a book.
One would assume.
Yeah. Wonder what she's reading.
Well, it was long before Lord of the Rings. I'm not sure what I'd read back then. Huckleberry Finn?
Oh, mate, that's a good point. She is American, yes. The next day, Mr. A returned, and his wife decided to say nothing to him about the experience. She's hiding something, isn't she?
A secret.
Yes.
The gardener.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've had to rent the gardener. I may as well get my money's worth.
Do you know what the gardeners have a lot of?
Hose?
Wood.
Oh. Those were both terrible in such different and awful directions. Oh, no. A few nights later, Mr. A was coming up the stairs from the big entrance hall, where he had been smoking and reading before retiring. I'm going to assume that is just tobacco, for the sake of simplicity.
Through a pipe. I bet you smoking through a pipe would have been classy.
Oh, absolutely. Or a shisha. Nah, it wouldn't have been a shisha back then.
That would be super classy. I don't think they would have had it. I also think that tobacco would be nicer back then, less tainted.
Less chemicals shoved in it.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
But,
It might not have been tobacco. Let's see what kind of experience Mr. A has tonight, shall we? So he had been smoking and reading before retiring when he heard a weird, blood-curdling sort of laugh. And I am so ready for a witch to show up. You have no idea.
I was just trying to see if I could get blood curdling. I feel like it's a hard one to...
I think it has to be loud.
Okay.
And that is not a challenge. Microphones are only going to pick up so much.
It felt like a challenge.
And looking up to the landing above, saw a tall, ungainly figure leaning over the banisters looking down at him. He saw its face distinctly, which was that of a man of about 40 years of age, deathly white and hairless, with the most horribly malignant expression.
That doesn't sound like a ghost. That sounds like a cryptid. That's an alien.
Oh, you think this is an alien?
That is a tall, cryptid alien.
Okay, you're right. Tall, ungainly figure. 40 years of age. Well, do aliens look any particular age?
They do not, but they could look 40.
Sure.
I think there is actually like an alien-like creature that is called a tall man, so could be. Just saying.
Is that... You're not thinking of Slender Man, eh?
I think I am thinking of Slender Man.
Oh.
That's a cryptid, though.
Yeah, that's a
think
real recent internet one. I don't think that's going all the way back to 1910.
Maybe they just found him now. Like...
Took him a while to get from Ireland to America, but he got there.
But he got there. Yeah. In the shadows, the Slender Man.
At the moment, the features were distorted by a hideous grin. All right, so Slender Man from memory did not have a face, did he? It's just like a blank white head.
I'm still thinking alien.
And the form shook with laughter, while the eyes seemed to gleam like red-hot coals.
I mean, it's a pretty creepy ghost.
It's creepy as hell. It's veering away a bit from Alien, because I feel like Alien is black eyes, not red-hot, right?
Who knows, right? All I'm going to say is... I'm loving the ghost. This is a ghost that I can really get behind. Because this is
because you don't want to be in front of it.
No, but I mean, like, this is not the type of ghost where it's like, I heard a noise out the corridor, I heard some steps that were muffled in the distance, there was a flicker of light, I saw a shadow on the wall,
no,
I felt cold as I
creepy...
walked down the corridor. No, I want to see a ghost where I see, a pale white face with red hot eyes that stare into my very soul. That's a ghost that I can really get behind.
For me, this has veered too far in the other direction of I am now scared of this thing. This isn't like a black dress flicking around a corner or a schoolmaster walking through his old bedroom. This is now something that seems like it wants to hurt me.
Well, maybe you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, like maybe he's white-faced, red-hot, bloody eyes, but just wants to talk to you about his fan fiction book.
What fan fiction is he writing in 1910?
Huckleberry Finn 2.
Search for Jim's gold.
Right?
Oh, I can't. The hands and arms resting on the rail of the banister were like those of an ape.
Edgar Allan Poe goes to the zoo. More fan fiction.
I think that's actually Murders in the Rue Morgue.
What?
Oh, did you not know? Spoilers for an old Edgar Allan Poe story. But Murders in the Rue Morgue is like the first detective fiction. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that the killer is an escaped orangutan from the local zoo.
Wowza.
Yeah. So
maybe this ghost fan fiction actually made it out there into...
Maybe. Oh, shit. Yeah, look at that. While the whole form was covered with thick reddish-brown hair, this is an orangutan.
Is there just ghosts of orangutans and gorillas and
I don't think
apes?
It's a ghost. I think it's just an ape. I don't know what it's doing there. But I think this is an orangutan.
In the house.
Yeah. This is a prequel to Dunstan Checks In.
Aurora Borealis. At this time of day.
Entirely contained within my castle.
I'm glad you saw where I was going with that.
May I see it?
No. Oh, that's good.
Mr. A rushed up the stairs towards it, whereupon it gave peal after peal of fiendish laughter, and then vanished.
Peels of a banana?
Oh, shit! Look, I did look it up. Peal here is P-E-A-L. It means a low ringing, like from a bell. But, yep, it's a banana.
In case you were wondering, listeners, we actually don't take drugs. This is just us being us.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's
okay, maybe alcohol.
Like
we do. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they asked me why I had so much energy during the day.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, well, I do drink a lot of coffee. And they were like, oh, so it's drugs. And I'm like, yeah, sure, but we're calling coffee drugs. like
it is.
I know. I feel like when people say drugs, that they're referring to illegal drugs as opposed to like...
I can picture a world in which coffee was banned before it was widespread.
Yeah, look, okay. Look, I'm not going to pretend like coffee's not a drug that I love and consume often. I'm just saying that when people refer to it like that, it makes it sound like more like hard drugs. Okay, obviously I've got to be in my own bonnet and we should move on.
You can dig up there, buddy.
Just digging myself a hole.
Mrs. A and her son and daughter heard the noise of laughing, and they joined Mr. A, who recounted his experience, whereupon Mrs. A told what had befallen her a few nights previously. They thereupon determined to search all the rooms, which they did thoroughly without finding a trace of anything.
Do you ever do that if you hear a noise like halfway through the night? Like, I've sometimes heard a noise which I thought has been in the house, and I've gotten up and I've literally looked in every single room, looked in every single closet, because in my mind, for some reason, there could be a murderer in the closet. Better to check.
What's your home defense object of choice?
Great question. I have a very sharp kitchen knife, but it's very long.
Okay.
A very sharp, long kitchen knife, which...
Like Michael Myers?
Yeah, but it looks more like a small samurai sword.
Okay. So we've passed machete. We're all the way into sword.
Well, it'd be like 3/4 of the size of a machete. So it's not the full machete size, but it'd be a lot sharper than a machete.
It cuts a good tomato.
Yeah, if a knife can cut a good tomato, it's probably going to do well on human skin.
Yeah, so you got to be careful when you're cooking, boys and girls.
But to be fair, when I do go through the house by myself, no, it's all bare hands. Because I think there's a part of my brain that thinks that I'm being silly, and the part of my brain thinks that if I go and get a weapon, it makes me more silly.
As the servants occupied another part of the house, they had heard nothing, and of course were kept in ignorance.
They didn't want hazard pay.
Yeah,
They didn't want to pay hazard pay.
Yeah. So there's potentially either A, an intruder, B, an ape, C, a ghost, D, all of the above, in the house. And they're like, we don't need to tell the servants. Couldn't possibly hurt them.
I was going to say, they probably know.
We've just determined it's not in this part of the house, so why would it be in the other part of the house? Fucking Americans, man.
Look, I've got to talk to you about getting cancelled.
They decided that they would not relinquish their tenancy and determined to keep a sharp lookout and try to get to the bottom of the mystery. We're back in like Amityville Horror here, aren't we? We're not leaving this house. It's fine. We'll figure out what's going on.
Wow. You know.
Something keeps strangling the kids at midnight every night. We're not leaving.
Well, they're not dead yet.
No.
You know what it was like back then. You had a whole bunch of kids so you could lose a couple.
Yeah, they're expendable. Yeah. But they're Anglican, not Catholic. Fuck. Nothing further happened for some time. There were occasionally queer noises heard in the early hours of the morning, such as footsteps, muffled cries, and groans, and banging of doors, none of which they could account for, but which did not disturb them much.
What an orgy house.
It is, right? A bunch of Americans. They've gone over to Ireland, rented a whole castle for a holiday. They've brought a monkey in, and they are having a time.
Is that the staff or the actual occupants, do you think?
Yes, it is.
All I could say is that, muffled voices, groans, footsteps, and closing of doors is pretty obviously some
telltale.
tomfoolery.
Yeah. This is like carry on up for the castle.
Yeah, like ghost isn't the thing that pops into mind.
However, a climax came which caused them to leave.
Must have been a great climax.
God damn it. Miss A was one afternoon in the drawing room arranging some flowers.
And then a climax came.
What are you, me?
You could edit this out, right?
Could. Shan't. She was standing at one of the tables when she heard a noise behind her and felt two hands laid on her shoulders. Thinking it was a girlfriend who was then in the house, she exclaimed lightly, "Oh, there you are!" And on turning round to greet her, came face to face with a most loathsome-looking creature which had just removed its hands from her shoulders and was chuckling with diabolical glee. It was neither human being nor animal, and instead of clothing was covered with hair, like an orangutan. It stood over 6 feet high and had a most repulsive appearance. I'm kind of glad that the book got to the fact that it was like an orangutan.
Look, I'm just going to throw this out here. Let's just say, very, very, very hypothetically, that this actually happened. I believe it would be more likely that it would be some sort of alien.
No, come on, man.
Than a ghost. Like, you must admit, right? Like, if
No, I mustn't. Why would I?
First of all, I started with very, 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 very hypothetically.
Okay.
It's more likely than there would be an alien that would already be that form as opposed to a ghost that just takes on a weird, hairy form. Right? Like,
oh, I see. Okay. So your logic there being that there is no living thing that looks like that could become a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it must be a living thing that already looks like that, aka alien. Instead of allowing for the possibility that it is either an orangutan or the ghost of an orangutan.
That is correct, sir. That is what I'm hypothesizing.
Okay.
And I'll be the first one to admit this. More likely, probably not true. Full of shit, crazy story.
Yeah.
Fever dream, probably on acid, I don't know, something.
Mm-hmm.
Have I been vague enough?
Yeah, but I still have questions.
Oh, please do.
Are aliens known for laughing? Diabolically?
Oh, look, I mean, the great thing about aliens is they can do anything.
I think you've just admitted way more than you intended to.
No, I didn't. No, absolutely. My point is basically that if we are living in an infinite universe with in an infinite possibilities, and in one of those infinite possibilities that there would be an alien form that would be
that matches this description rather
than a human that died and took on that form.
Sure, because it's more likely that it's an alien that just happens to be in that form than orangutans are allowed to have ghosts that laugh. Wait, hang on. I will posit my second question. Do orangutans laugh?
No.
I guess some monkeys do.
Sure.
Is the sound I've definitely heard in Tarzan movies.
I guess it comes back to that original idea of how many orangutans would have died around that area. What's the likelihood of an orangutan ghost over, say, I don't know, Lassie? You know, right?
Agreed. It does.
I still lean towards alien or trans-dimensional being.
Okay. Now, we've just absolutely skimmed past the point where it admitted that Mrs. A has a girlfriend, but I think we're just going to have to assume that means a friend of hers who was a girl.
It is a funny turn of phrase.
It was, in fact, the creature that had been seen twice before at night time. Feeling sick and faint with horror and disgust, she gave a piercing shriek, and just as her friend entered the room, the apparition disappeared.
Oh, they always do, don't they?
They do a bit. Sus that. And Mrs. A fell back in a dead faint. The girl who came in so opportunely just caught a glimpse of the ghost before it vanished.
Oh, glimpse though.
Yeah. After this episode, the A's thought it would be advisable to go.
I wonder what the B's thought.
Buzz? And accordingly left T Castle as soon as they conveniently could. The end. It's a monkey. It's an ape.
It's the ghost of an ape, though.
Okay, sure, it's a ghost of an ape. I hate that this story has made me assert that it's a ghost of an ape.
Let's jump back into that fun hypothetical world. Very, 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 very hypothetically. That it was a ghost of an ape that touched her shoulders and then she flipped around and it vanished.
No,
and the other...
Not before laughing in her face.
Sure. And then the other friend of hers walked in to see the vanishing ape-like creature. Mm-hmm. You know, it makes sense. Like, I'm on board, you know? I feel... I mean... I'm like, obviously I'm still going to lean towards alien, but like I'm on board. You know, it's something. Like I didn't think the friend would have even seen a glimpse. I thought it would have been just the acid trip of Mrs. A as opposed to like, when I say acid trip, I'm referring to like, you know, moldy bread. You know,
yes. I know exactly what you mean.
The one that...
The wheat.
Yeah, the one
mold,
that made witches or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what is that called?
Something got, maybe?
Ergot.
Knew as a got of some sort.
Yeah, you're almost there. That's right,
Ergot, yeah.
Yeah, that's entirely possible, given that there are multiple people who have seen this ghost, which is a fun thing. I enjoy that.
That being said, though, I'm unconvinced now because, you know, 2 people saw it.
3.
Unlikely to be a drug that would have caused the hallucination.
All right, sure, fine. So I guess, Ollie, we're back to Alien.
Not a orangutan ghost.
No, all right, you've convinced me. It's a friggin' alien that looks exactly like an orangutan that is a ghost.
Do you know what would be awesome? Is that if someone out there in this wide, beautiful world actually drew off like a picture of this magical ghost, be it orangutan or alien or...
Can it be buddies with the leprechaun from last fortnight?
Oh, look, imagine that. You're drawing with the orangutan ghost with the leprechaun, just hanging out, having a drink.
Can they also have it hanging out with them?
We haven't talked about it.
Yeah, we have. Not the clown,
Oh, okay.
but there was like a grey ghost with like black hole eyes called
Oh, right, okay.
It.
Yes, okay,
Last
cool,
episode.
cool. No, good to clarify though, because like I don't want some like random character from another book in this. Like,
No.
this is our fever dream.
And look, I hope you join us next fortnight for our next fever dream on
Second-hand
Haunting.